What it is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're gonna be reviewing Samurai Cop, the legendary, so bad it's good movie. I'm just glad we're doing this. I'm sorry. I'm just real happy to be here. We're gonna talk about all the things. We're gonna talk about crazy scene changes, bad editing, bad audio, a dude called Samurai who don't be called Samurai. We're gonna talk about all the things. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. What's up? We hope you're doing great out there wherever you are. We are the first ones to die. I already said that, but hey, we're going to go with it. My name is Jonathan. We are. I'm here with my
Is the curls throwing you off?
They are, honestly. It's a bit distracting. It was a jump scare when he came on the screen. It was a jump scare. For those who are listening to only the audio, it's really a sight to see, but I feel like it should come with one of those warnings like on social media when they have like the image blurred out and you have to click accept. I feel like it should be
back,
like that.
Y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if you've seen our Halloween episode, you've seen the curls before. Well, now here in 2023, you get to see the curls again, returned from 2021.
Mm-hmm. Back from the dead. Mm-hmm. Jerome, how are you doing with that full head of hair?
I'm doing good. It's warm.
Yep.
But doing all right. Having a fun time. Loving the discourse that is the Velma show.
Yeah, let's go for that one.
Should we just hop into it? I mean, this is not our topic for today, but it's topical. And we do like.
If it goes too long, we'll just turn to a First Ones to Die talk about episode, and then
really quick disclaimer for anybody watching the video: my computer's been glitchy all day, so it might have another moment where I just disappear. I really gotta clean it out. This poor little thing's been overworked.
But before we go into Velma, while we still got you though, Alex, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm a little tired because yesterday I helped wash my sister's 3 dogs. The Corgi was cool. The Samoyed was okay. The Husky, oh my god, she went full Husky. She just was going, ow, 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 ow. Literally, the entire time I felt so bad. I've never felt bad before giving a pet a bath, and I felt horrible. And I was like, and people from all over the store, because it was in a store with a self-wash station, kept checking up because she was so loud.
Oh, to make sure she was okay.
Make sure she was okay. And she's just, the shower's just going on her. And it's just like, you need to chill. You need to stop doing that. So she got a quick one. That was fun. Oh. It made me sore because those dogs are surprisingly strong and move a lot. Shall we jump into Velma? And what nonsense that is?
Wait, before we get into that, I'll say some of the things that that I've been doing this week. Or rather watching. So I finished Prince Harry's book. I enjoyed it. Listened to the audiobook. It was very good. He spilled the royalty, and I drank it. Also, in theme with the royalness of it all, I've been watching The Prince on HBO Max, the animated series.
Oh, I love that show.
And it's kind of great.
It's awesome.
Apparently, it got canceled after 1 season, but.
Yeah, it did not do well.
People liked it after they found it. I don't feel like it was like marketed well enough. Because anytime I hear somebody who says they watched it, they loved it, they wish they knew about it.
And I've also been watching this competition reality show, You Know Me. It's called The Traitors. It's on Peacock. And it's kind of great as well. It has some of my favorite people from some of my favorite competition reality shows. Not favorite, but it has people from some of my favorite competition reality shows. It's hosted by Alan Cumming, and it's pretty great. I recommend it.
I know who he is, but I can't. You just got.
He played. He played. He played.
It's hard not to. I don't have this much hair.
He
all right?
played what was his name? The evil guy in the first Spy Kids.
Ah, yes. Okay. I was like, the name sounds too familiar, and I know who it is, but I don't know who it is.
Floop is his name. Floop.
Yeah, his name is Floop.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, interesting.
Something else I've been watching, or not have been watching, I watched, was the Velma series.
Now, granted, I haven't watched episodes 3 and 4, so I don't know if maybe it gets better.
I watched episode 3, but not 4.
I haven't watched episode 4 because I'm not sure I want to.
Yeah, audience, at the time of this recording, there are only 4 episodes are out yet of the Velma show.
If you haven't heard, if you haven't seen the discourse on social media, basically, a couple weeks ago, I think it was last week maybe, Mindy Kaling released her animated television series Velma on HBO Max. It's a retelling of the Scooby-Doo mysteries stories. She plays Velma.
Wait. She says it's a retelling of the stories of Scooby-Doo, Velma centered.
Yes. she says, for clarification, she says, and it has just been, the series itself has just been getting slammed on social media.
Yeah, it's not doing so
for
hot.
a myriad of
But
reasons.
it has been renewed for a season 2, so.
Oh, has it? They just
Yeah.
announced that?
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, it is getting the views.
I mean, ratings.
Well, that's
People
the
are talking
thing.
about it.
People who hate, like, who on it, even the people who are the, like, you know, the, like, people who are like, oh, it stars a woman, all this diversity cast, I'm not, like, I hate this show, are still the people who watch it and give it the numbers to be greenlit for more.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like some of that, a lot of the criticism about this show is very valid. But I feel like a lot of the people a lot of the racist people who have that sentiment of this is diversity and I hate diversity and this is a racist show are jumping on that bandwagon and are using this as an excuse to throw rocks at Mindy Kaling as well.
Well, there's that,
Yeah.
but then there's also apparently, like, the left hates this show, too.
There are a lot of people. I've seen a lot of TikToks from Indian people who are like, Mindy Kaling, why do you always have to do this where the main character is an Indian loser and everything about her personality is how much she hates being Indian and she
Or
falls
just
in love
hates
with the white person.
everything in general. Like, Velma don't like nothing if you go by this show. She just be judging everything.
Right. But it is true. I can very much see, now I don't have that experience, so I can't like relate to it or speak for it, but I can very much see the trend in the Mindy Kaling series that she produces and stars in.
Yeah, and I don't think the show is awful, but I do think it takes itself a little, like, it reminds me a lot of She-Hulk in a lot of ways, but at least She-Hulk had the superhero thing to kind of carry it through, you know? And I only say it reminds me of She-Hulk in that She-Hulk is very self-referential and breaks the fourth wall a lot. But this show is almost too self-referential. It's almost too literal. I mean, one of the first jokes in the show is when Daphne and the other girls are commentating in the shower in this gratuitous nudity scene in this show about gratuitous nudity in shows. And I'm like, I get the joke.
Well, speaking of gratuitous nudity,
get that
Samurai
you're-
Cop. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah. We'll get there. But it's just like, it's one of those
flashbacks.
things where, like, or even that scene when he's like, Daphne, what do you think about half? Like, what do you think about changing the race of people's characters? And she says in the most clunky dialogue way, she tries to say it, Constance Wu, to her credit, tries to say it fast to make it, like, flow a little bit better in the joke land. But it's just clunky dialogue. And I think that's my biggest issue with the show, is that there's a lot of this self-referential, like, fourth wall breaking, clunky dialogue that doesn't work because it's too self-referential. It needs to be a lot more subtle, I think. with this show. I mean, it's too late because they've already filmed the first season. But if I could name one thing they could improve in the second season, don't be so literal. Like, there's some things you could kind of just let the audience notice for themselves without you having to point it out. Or just be, like, so hand-fisted with the jokes, especially.
I think this show is just bad. It is just sucks. Yeah, she does do that thing where she's kind of, like, self-hating all the time and, like, the loser character. And just, it's really tiring to see that, too, when it's women of color. Because a lot of the times when represented that way in media, it's always underdog or, no self-confidence, not anything. And then they strive to be better and they have this whole makeover and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I need that storyline to stop. We're not all sad. Well, I am, but for different reasons. Not my self-image. And then, like, the show also is not anything to do with Scooby-Doo. None of the characters are the characters. Like,
well, I'm willing to bet this show was a different show. And then Mindy Kaling, when she tried to pitch it, someone said no. So then she was like, well, actually, it's a Scooby-Doo show about Velma and her friend. But then you watch the show and you're like, yeah, none of them are any of their characters from the shows. They don't say the things that are in reference to their character from previous shows. Heck, they don't even commit to calling Shaggy Shaggy.
Yeah, he's Norville.
He's Norville now, which is that has always been his name, but we all know him as Shaggy. Come on
they
now.
They call him. They're like if you go to like cast lookings, they call him Shaggy. Which is, why are you doing that if you're not addressing him like that in the show?
Because I'm sure that's going to be the last episode they're going to call him Shaggy.
We're going to find out how he gets his nickname.
Also, the Daphne-Velma romance feels also kind of forced, too.
Oh, it definitely is.
Even though I know, like, my girlfriend was saying apparently that's a thing that Scooby-Doo fans have always said. They assume Daphne and Velma should be together. But I'm like, why? Just because they're the only two women in the show?
No,
they should be together?
There's a little something there.
No, there isn't. They don't even really share scenes together. What do you mean there's something there? They don't talk to each other.
Women can clearly tell that there's something there. There. We can see it. This is definitely forced. This is like, where is this coming from? You guys are no chemistry at all.
Yeah.
The only Scooby-Doo, the Scooby-Doo media that's not the main series that matters is, well, What's New Scooby-Doo and the live action movies.
And Mystery Incorporated. Mystery Incorporated was honestly, I think, one of the best Scooby-Doo rendition, like moderning of the show. I think they've done it in a long time. Mystery Incorporated was great. I love that show. And it did well. It got a few seasons. But eventually it got canceled. So.
I want to know why there hasn't been any live action or spinoff or retelling of the Jetsons. Like, I feel
like it's because the Jetsons is so... Like it's the same
like
reason why we haven't gotten another
it's
live
our
action
time period?
Flintstones.
What is we did get
like
multiple live action Flintstones though.
Yeah,
but I'm saying we haven't gotten any new one for a while because that model doesn't work anymore.
That model don't work anymore. Disney been using their business off of that.
Well, no, the nuclear family model or whatever. Like
that is true.
And they're all white. All right, if you want a Jetsons thing, we need them to be like black or like half black, half Hispanic, but one kid's adopted and is Asian. You know what I mean? That's the only way we can get it greenlit, apparently, if you go by Velma's model.
That's the thing with Velma, because there's a lot of shows, like, when they're rebooted, they have that forced wokeness in them. Like, I talked to my mom about, like, Sex and the City, and we were talking about one character who's now discovering she's gay, and this. I was like, but they did that in the original Sex and the City. She had that moment, and then she's like, no, it's not work for me. But all of a sudden, she has this, like, revelation, like, later on. I was like, no. She already had this, like, thing. Why all of a sudden, again, is it coming? And that's what Velma reminds me of, but in a whole show. because the new reboots will have like have like a singular episode of wokeness, you know, where they're like this whole episode's just dedicated to like we believe blah blah blah, and Velma is all that. That is everything Velma is, and it's like none of these situations. Let's say Scooby-Doo is real. None of these situations would ever happen in a normal setting. How like even Scooby-Doo, the original cartoon, was mainly about like evil corporations trying to like take things down, and like that's relatable. True. It's always the man in the mask is somebody who's trying to run down the amusement park or put the movie theater out of business. It gave some weirdly like, all right, and that's also a nice subtle way too to show a life lesson. Don't trust corporations. That's what Scooby-Doo taught me.
I'd like to see a Jetsons live action film, especially now. I feel like they could do some cool stuff.
They could with some CG.
It's set in 2063.
Oh, so we're approaching.
We're close.
Well, not close. I mean, closer than we were, but like.
Well, we're close to the apocalypse.
Because it was probably 100 years after it first came out, right? Probably came out in 1963.
I
think so.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's probably 100 years. Yeah.
I still believe in my theory that the Flintstones and Jetsons takes place in the same time period. It's just the Flintstones what's happening on the Earth, and Jetsons is what's happening in the sky. Because the Flintstones are the undesirables, and it's why the dinosaurs.
There was a crossover episode
science
once.
Experiments.
There was
but it was that the Flintstones went in time to meet the Jetsons.
So doesn't that break your theory then?
I don't care what the show says. This is the reality. The curls have spoken.
Well, going off the topic of Velma, speaking of bad media, Samurai Cop. All right, well, we were
so
forced
the curls
to
are in
watch.
honor of, if you couldn't tell by the way. Is that
real
Yeah.
honor? Is that what we're gonna associate?
Listen,
Put that word to that movie.
You don't get to say that, Miss Sharknado fan. All right.
Okay, you cannot. Sharknado and Samurai. Like
that's because Sharknado thinks it's a so bad it's good movie. This is what a real so bad it's good movie is. No, Sharknado's trying to be bad. This movie thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread. They're just like, we're the best.
You're talking about the sequels of Sharknado. The original Sharknado was terrible, and I loved it, and it's great. And the second Sharknado, he gets chainsaws, and it's even better. But this was such bad editing, such bad acting, and spoiler alert, he actually doesn't use a samurai sword.
Yes, he does at the end.
At the end.
Yeah.
And then also, most of the times, this is what I found hilarious about this movie, is that every single time he's ready to, like, fight somebody, with his hands, they just shoot the guy.
Yeah, because they have guns.
Why the fuck did they bring him then? What is his point?
Jerome, you sound like you're trying to justify this movie.
No, I'm saying that's what makes it so funny to me. Is I'm like, you have guns. What is there's a scene where he literally drops his gun to fight somebody, and it's just like, and Frank just shoots him because he's like, yeah, I have a pistol. What is wrong with you?
That's the whole movie, though. So he's pointless.
If you are lost and you've never seen Samurai Cop, talking to the audience, Samurai Cop tells the story of Joe Marshall and Frank Washington, who are two tenacious police detectives who seek at all costs to stop the Katana, a renegade Yakuza gang composed of violent and sadistic killers who want to lead the drug trade in Los Angeles.
That's right. The Katana gang. They're Japanese because they're the Katana gang.
It is a direct-to-video action film from 1991, which has attained a cult following. And I can see why. We were forced by Jerome to watch this.
It was.
And Alex, continue with your thoughts.
You see his ass so many times in the film.
For real.
He's got such a white ass.
Listen, they gotta balance it out with all the titties in this movie because there's just so much gratuitous.
There's a lot of nudity.
That was when I was thinking of, okay, what if I had to describe this movie in one sentence? it would be softcore porn with action sequences sprinkled in. Because
That's all
Not
it was.
even. No, but here's the thing, Jonathan. Not even, because at least softcore porn is arousing. These are the worst sex scenes I have ever seen in my entire life.
and you know what the thing is? I was about to watch this movie on my lunch break at work in the break room.
No.
I was not warned that it would just all of a sudden cut.
To be fair, you didn't warn me that Serial Mom has so much nudity in it either. So
Serial Mom actually was more surprising. Like 70s movies, like, all right, there's gonna definitely be a naked woman most of the time. Serial Mom was surprising, where like all of a sudden a naked person popped up. But no, this movie, like, there was a close up on that man's ass at one point, like straight up as he's walking into the bedroom with a woman. It's just like there, like front and center on screen, and it's like, thank God it wasn't in the theaters. That would have been terrible to see in a giant cinema.
I love this film so much. It's so bad.
Other than like,
You
is it
you
just
had-
because it's bad that you like it, or like
It's a
there any other
like
quality?
this is in the same realm as stuff like The Room or Birdemic, where these are movie like that's why I'm like I respect
Birdemic?
the first.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, never mind.
No, I don't want to know. No, I don't want to know.
But it's like there's these like, you know, I mean, like they're like I think that Sharknado, for all its
Will
faults,
you leave my movie alone?
listen, for Sharknado, for all its faults, it's still a capable movie. Like, it still has proper lighting. It still has, like, at least some budget for CG. The character, they shot it with sound. You know what I mean? Like, there's, like, yes, the plot might not be as, like, coherent, but for the most part, like, they had enough budget to make a pretty okay, solid
What do you
movie.
mean the plot is so? It is coherent. It's very simple. It is actually Sharknado is actually a very simple plot.
This is a simple plot. It's just cops trying to stop
Really?
a gang.
Yeah, but it's not really, because they bring in this guy who speaks Japanese. He's trained from all these masters, and then they don't use him at all. He's just
they
hanging
use
around
him.
the one
He goes
guy.
around and he shoots things. Sometimes he punches things, and most of the time he just has sex with women.
He rarely shoots things. It's his partner that keeps shooting people, because he will like just I'm gonna fight him, and the guy's like, no, we have shit to do, man. And then he shoots him, and then they cut to a scene. Either it's somebody sleeping with somebody, or it's like the chief yelling at them, or the captain yelling at them. It's another big part of this movie.
But
the
this
captain
is
yelling.
like, I love this movie because this movie is clearly like the spirit of like true creatives, where it's just they don't care. They're like, and not that he did, like, the director didn't care as in like he was just like, I'll just point stuff in a direction, but rather just like, I don't care if it doesn't look as good as the movies I've seen on TV. I want to make a movie, so I'm gonna do that. And then you watch it and you're just like, oh, this is it's no different than when you watch like old home videos you made when you were a kid, and you're like, you know, like, especially for our generation, because I like the newest generation, all of their home movies are going to still be in HD. But for us, it's like, we remember the old VHS tape, like, of when you were little, and it just looks silly and ridiculous to look back at now. And that's how I feel when I watch these movies that are made this way, where it's like, I respect the hustle. I respect the dedication to just get it done in the first place. At the same time, though, it is still hilarious to me, like, how bad the final product is. That came together.
At the beginning, you hit all the points that I was going to say about all of just the technical things with the movie, the sound, the random cuts.
Especially that action sequence when he leaves the investigation room, and then meanwhile in the bedroom of the bad guy, this girl's taking her whole robe off, and it's like, I'm sorry, we were in the middle of an action sequence. Why are we here?
And literally, there would be points where It sounded like people were talking into the mic like this. Like it
yeah.
sounded
So here's
like
here's
the audio
I have an answer to
sounded
that
honestly like this.
I have an answer to that one. The director, Amir Shavon, when he made this movie, he filmed it with no sound. They couldn't afford that. So everything was filmed with no sound and in single takes. And so you had to ADR it, like you do in normal movies. However, he couldn't get the people who were playing a lot of the bit roles to come back. He could only get like the main cast. So like, the dude playing Joe and Frank, Peggy, them. He couldn't get everybody else. So he did all of the rest of the voices himself and used audio mixing and mixing tricks to make himself sound like different people. That's why, you remember that scene when the bad guys leaving the hospital and everyone's like, hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. Let me talk to you. Hey, wait a minute. That's him.
Yeah.
Trying to do different voices.
Did he do all the screaming sounds too? Because none of the
Probably.
screams matched up. Yeah.
I
Nothing matched
laughed.
up.
I laughed at some of those, especially the one at the beginning where the guy falls out of the van. I think the black dude, he falls out the van and he's like,
You know what I thought when I saw that scene? I was like, man, he got run over. I'm like, but Taylor Swift got run over worse. They really showed for her. I'm like, they showed nothing
Amsterdam
for everything they
comment.
showed. Yeah,
That's
I was
because
like, for
listen,
everything
they didn't
they
have
showed
the
in this
budget
film,
to
they
get the
didn't-
stunt tires.
They like murdered Taylor Swift in Amsterdam. Well, Amsterdam, the movie. I feel like I need to clarify that.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it's like, oh no, and then he's out already from under the car. And I don't even think they edited it or had it where the car went over a speed bump or something, so it looked like they hit the body. All of a sudden they're like, oh no, we ran him over.
I love the opening of this with the chase because they get out the car to look at the van and see them get in it, then get back in the car, then pull around and then get out the car again to do a quick stakeout, only to watch them then get back in the van to leave and at the marina and then get back in the car. I was like, what are you doing? Are we arresting them or not?
Was the
I'm
helicopter
reading-
watching them? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I'm reading the Wikipedia article for this. When actor Hannon, the lead guy, had considered shooting to be finished, he had cut his hair short, only to be told that further shooting was to be done. Director Shervin obtained a lady's wig for the actor, which can be seen in several close-up shots throughout the film.
There's multiple scenes where he has like a women's haircut.
can see that,
Those
yeah.
were reshoots. And sometimes when they wanted to differentiate it, they'd make him, the scenes where he wore a hat with his hair? That was the wig. The hat is just keeping the wig down.
Also, lead actor Hannon stated that he and several other actors became frustrated with the dialogue in the film, while also expressing frustration at the lack of multiple takes. Hannon admitted to intentionally ruining takes due to his frustration, assuming that Shervan would not put them in the film, but these takes ended up in the film.
They're not gonna do that. They did it.
He's like, I wish
really
you would.
played a
Like, oh, you
game.
think I'm not? He thinks I'm not gonna put these in the film, mother. Put that in.
He really they were like, fuck around, and find out. Everything about this, I hated it. I hated watching it. I get you love it because it was so bad, but I hated it so much. And just I was like, what the fuck is going on? What am I watching?
Actors also wore their own clothes and drove their own cars.
Now here's the thing, I actually have done that. Filming.
Well, yeah.
stuff.
Well,
I've
that's-
worn
You
my
a
own clothes.
student film or
Yeah.
you were not
This isn't. You're not getting released on a national scale.
Oh yeah, that's true.
not yet.
And I've done that too.
You
Like
didn't,
I've worn my own clothes for shoots, but I've never done anything that's like direct to video.
Yeah, I was a zombie in a student film. It was my own clothes. But yeah, this was seen. I don't know if it was a national, global. Is it everywhere?
I think it's
they
only
release it?
really national. But you could probably, find like a random VHS or DVD that's somewhere. And now that's on Tubi, technically it is international now. It's on the internet.
And you know what's crazy that I found when looking up facts about this film, doing a little research, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. Part of my brain also left trying to watch this movie. It stopped paying attention, and I actually had to go back 10 minutes because I had stopped watching it completely, and all of a sudden I was like, I feel like I missed something. They made a Samurai Cop 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Why would
I haven't
why
seen
did
the
he say-
sequel
Oh
yet.
yeah, like I knew that.
Listen,
Why would-
because why would
didn't
you
even know
not
the
make a
first one.
sequel to this masterpiece? Are you kidding me? All right, all of them have gotten sequels. Birdemic 2, that's real. Like,
I don't want to know what that is, but I want to ask, but I'm not going to. This movie was insane.
just imagine Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, but bad, like really
Fun
bad.
fact: birds is the reason I have a small phobia of birds. Yeah.
I love, like, also Frank's feels like his whole role was just for everyone around him to say shut up to him, because like when his jokes were just so bad, especially he's like, man, he gonna burn my ass, charcoal black. Yeah, it is black. Shut the hell up, Frank. Shut up. Or that time when he's like, why'd you go under the gate? Because I'm an undercover cop. It's like I just want to shoot you right now. I have the gun. I could do it. No one would know. I could just tell them that it was an accident and the bad guys did it. Because god damn it.
They really made him the stereotypic black cop in the 70s. Like those movies you see that have like the 70s show or something, like they're like, oh, they're exaggerating, but then you watch a movie like this and you're like, oh, no, they did that. They had just that one cop making jokes, and he's like the black cop in the background. It's like,
he's just so bad and dumb. The worst scene though is when he gets interrogated. They're just like, tell us where the samurai cop is, or we'll cut this black gift off. I'm like, black gift? What?
I was so uncomfortable at that line. My goodness.
I was like, who the hell wrote this? And also, if this was a real scenario, why would you describe it that way? I feel like if I was the other kidnapper, I'd be like, hey, bro, hold on real quick. Tom, what was that?
maybe
I heard what you said.
He's appreciating it, He's like, hey, this isn't a bad looking one. It should show my appreciation. It is a gift.
Also, I love that he gets them like they're in like Looney Tunes or something, where he's like, yeah, well, the address is over there in that closet right there. I'm not seeing nothing. Yeah, because it's almost like it's a closet. Why would he have the address
and
information?
he didn't look through
inside
pockets
of
or
it?
anything. He was just shifting. I think there was a few clothes in there, and he was just shifting through it. Like, oh yeah, the phone number or the address is going to be taped to the back of the closet wall, so I need to move everything and go in deeper. And it's like, check maybe pretend to at least check the pockets or something. Look for a box.
He checked a few pockets, but it was just like, because also they were taking forever for the scene to end, so that he could grab his gun and everything. Peggy. Peggy.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say some of the special effects, like when people would get limbs cut off, or the head when they cut the head off of the guy who got burned. And you could clearly tell that head was made of styrofoam or something. At least use a watermelon, something heavy. Something with
he
some
was like,
weight
here, take this paper mache head.
Right.
Get a mannequin head and fill it up with water or something, water balloon.
Something.
I don't have a bounce.
How about the fact that that scene alone, I laughed so hard because I forgot about that scene. She rolls him in. And at first I was like, oh, she's going to do it. Okay, cool, whatever. Then she folds back the sheet and he just tucks out from the thing with his big self. He's like, this man is 6'4", 300 something pounds, just tucked into this little basket waiting to pop
I
out.
assume she's okay, she has a weapon in there or something, or she's hiding something. Also, by the way, I'm taking out the trash and there's just a trash and there's just a linen cover over everything. Nobody notices. And she also had a normal trash can, by the way. It wasn't a trash can that
trash bin.
Custodial was working with or anything like that. It was what you see in the corner of an office or something. So she just she grabbed a trash bin on her way in and was like, this will work. Nobody will notice.
Especially because Like, my thing is, he cuts the head off. And first of all, he's got I guess a katana blade, whatever. And this man is cutting like he's cutting into a steak. I'm like, it's a blade, just one swipe. He's just like, let me just take my time.
Maybe he forgot to sharpen it. He was like, oh man, I'm in a rush.
It's a little dull.
It's a little dull. We'll just cut it through. I think they used all their budget on the amount of blood in that scene. That's where their whole budget went. Just to the blood in that scene. Because you didn't see really that much blood everywhere else, but just that one scene, everywhere. They're like, shit, we use all our blood.
Why didn't he just walk in? They don't know what you look like or who you are.
No,
why did she have to roll him in?
Well, she didn't need to roll him in at all. But they said don't let anybody in or out.
They let her in.
Because she was changing the trash. Which, by the way, it does not take
all
that
he had
long.
to do was also just be like, I'm taking the trash out and rolling in there.
It was only really needed one of them. But also, they were in there for a while. Maybe like that was a solid 20 minutes cutting his head off. You don't notice that the trash person is taking 20 minutes to change out one bin? Like,
that whole hospital scene too, because I remember like the first scene before it is they're at the police station having a good time. Then the captain pumps up, "Hey, you two, in my office!" And then he goes to his office, and you're like, "Oh man, they're about to get it now." Cut to, all right, we're at the hospital. I'm like, what? Okay, did you go to his office? What happened?
And if you look and you pay attention to the hospital, you just look around. That's clearly an office building.
Oh yeah,
Those
absolutely.
That's a whole
that's
office
definitely
building.
not a hospital.
And like,
you know what tells you that it's an office building? Not a single nurse is wearing scrubs. Not one.
The hallway is carpeted. It's got these like yellow walls going on. It looks like an office hallway. And then you go into the room and you're like, there's no windows or anything. This was a solid, like, I bet he's even lying on the desk. I don't think they removed the desk. They just slid it up closer to the wall, put some pillows up, and they're like, it's a bed now. We're good.
It's a hospital bed.
The captain, you mentioned the captain, Jerome. The captain, I felt like he was the best actor out of everyone.
See,
like
it was for me, it was the captain and the dude who played Preacher, the other cop whose like wife gets killed. I was like, why are y'all the only ones trying? Everybody else didn't get the memo. You're the only ones who are giving a damn about this script and doing a good performance. But even then, the captain's kind of one note. All he has to do is scream. Although, I think there's a couple times in here where they did not, like, they should have cut. Because remember, like, there's that scene where the captain gives them the riot act, and then Frank kisses him on the forehead, and he's like, you get
and then
here.
he laughs.
And he's angry, and then he smiles. I was like, yeah, because they're supposed to cut the scene.
You think, I thought that was a choice of his.
Yeah,
I don't think that was intentional. I think they just didn't. That was the whole take, and they didn't cut it. They only cut out the part that said
would be
cut.
wild if the scene had ended. So he was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm breaking character now." Hey, and they left that in the movie.
I mean, would you be surprised?
Well,
would you be surprised?
But at the same time, it kind of fit because it was like, I'm angry, but I love these boys. Like, you know, like I love these boys. They're ridiculous.
You yell because you can't. There's multiple times people flub their lines and they just leave it in because it was the only take. It was the only one they had.
There was just I can't get over the fact that they were like, we're gonna fight, and then they just get shot. That was like my favorite thing about this movie was because they brought in this specialist who was trained by masters, and he can like do all these fighting styles.
Apparently speaks
and
fluent
not
Japanese.
And not once are his skills used. And the captain's like, I should have left you in San Diego. He's like, yeah, you should have. He's like, what the fuck am I doing up here? And it's like, what are you doing up here? You have no reason to be up here.
Banging these babes. What do you mean, what am I doing up here? You see what it is. Although you don't have to work hard for Peggy. Peggy will literally sleep with anybody and everybody as long as they are a man and in the vicinity. in the immediate, within a 10-mile radius.
Peggy was the other cop.
Peggy's the only female cop in the entire... Well, that's not true. There was another one, but she was in the background. She don't count.
Yeah, she didn't say it lying.
She's the only female on the force.
She was always making jokes where you could picture her face afterwards looking like this.
Yeah.
Well, because every time, all her jokes are, hey, let's have sex. And it gets to a point where you're like, I don't think you're joking anymore, Peggy. I feel like you are just out here smashing everything.
She kept doing that also. I was just thinking when they were in the helicopter and she was doing that, I'm like, everybody can hear you. Probably people who are at the station, who's the air marshal, or like an air marshal who's, making sure helicopter stays in regulation. Like, all these people are just listening to you, basically, like, you're coming over to my house tonight, right? We're gonna fool around. Because, like, I have that in my planner.
No, see, that sounds normal. What they said did not sound normal. Of just to like, yeah, make sure it's warm and ready. Oh, it's warm and ready. All right, cool. And then he looks at Frank like almost like he's saying, she always keeps it warm and ready. It's just like, yeah, thanks, man. I didn't need to know that. I'm here to arrest bad guys.
I was already done with the love scenes throughout the whole movie, but that last one just put it over the top. Why was it 20 minutes long?
It's so long.
Why?
I was prepared for the camera to drift over and you just see a person, the synth man, just like out here just playing keys.
At least the only good thing I'll give it is that it wasn't a jump scare. Like all of the other ones were jump scares. They were just all of a sudden they would just cut to the lovemaking scene. This one actually gave you a little bit of what they would consider context in the realm of this film. It warmed you up to it, but that being said, it was far too long.
It's a little also ironic that they went to church beforehand. They're like,
no, she went to church. He didn't go. He just showed. I am fully convinced he did not step inside that building. He showed up with a suit. And I was waiting outside because he's a total stalker. This man literally tells this girl, "Hey, I got something to show you. I got some questioning to do," and then brings her to his house. And then it's just like, I'm like, you just kidnapped this woman under false pretenses. That's what you did. You used your badge to kidnap a person.
And she even points out, this isn't the police station. Of course it's not. You're still a resident.
At what point?
You could have figured that out when you pulled up to the residence, not even just to the house, to the neighborhood.
Perhaps
like
the
when
police
y'all
station's
passed
around the corner.
Precinct, when y'all passed the precinct, you should have been like, wait, you should have made a turn right there.
Then it become a horror movie.
Or was it the hospital? Who knows? They quite look similar.
I want to know why the music they used for the bad guys was bootleg Jaws theme music. Did you notice that?
Kind of, yes.
I did. Oh my god. I kind of want to go back.
The bad guys in this are the best part, especially that fight scene he has with the dude who's like, who he chases through the house, who jumps out the window. Which, by the way, he jumps through the window like the door isn't literally right next to the window. He could have just walked out.
They did. They're like, we paid for this window. You're going to jump through it. I don't care. Right, we paid for this window to break. We're breaking it. I don't care how we're doing it.
But he jumps through the window. Then he goes out, and there's this it's clearly cactuses. Clearly. And then Joe runs into him. He's like, all right, let's fight. Then it cuts back. They're in a completely different location. They go to 3 different locations in this fight scene alone.
I feel like
it's all supposed to take place at the same time.
The actual cops came by and were like, you guys have to move along. You can't do this here. Do it somewhere else. Go. I feel like that's what occurred. The actual cops came and were like, you can't be filming here. Like, just go ahead and go. Do it somewhere else. There's a lot of cactuses. This is actually very dangerous. And that's why suddenly they were in like what looked like a field off and off ramp. Like driving through California, if you go like far down enough and you just see the desert land, that's what it looked like. They just
one was clearly a beach.
Yeah. It wasn't even like subtle changes. They were just like, it's not even like, okay, this is close enough, or like, all right, this is similar. They went to vastly different locations, and it was like, you're not even like, I feel like at that point you all weren't even trying. You guys
Sir,
were
this
trying,
is
you
Chili's. The
deserve.
cactuses are just for decoration. Please
Yeah.
get down.
Even that, at least there were cactuses around. All right, there was a cactus around. It started that way, it can end that way with the paper ones. It's cool, but like I felt like at that point they were like, we just need this scene. We keep getting kicked out of these locations. I don't care anymore. We'll finish it. We'll finish it in a warehouse. Nobody's gonna
Funny
question how we
enough,
got there.
The guy who's in that fight scene that he's fighting, the Asian guy, he was the stunt coordinator for the movie because he's an actual martial artist. And they couldn't afford to give them actual stunt training. So he did a lot of it on the fly, like 15 minutes before some of it. Some of it they just did amongst themselves. But like he did a lot of the stunt coordination like just before they filmed the scene to show them like some moves and stuff.
I believe that. Going back to the dialogue, one of my favorite scenes is when the bad guys are talking at the one guy's house, and he's like, "Oh, they call him Samurai Cop, but who is the real samurai?" And the guy's like, "I will get Samurai Cop, and I will show him who the real samurai is. I am the samurai." Why are you saying the word samurai so much? What is the point of it? They were like, "I am the samurai." The samurai what? What are you? You just keep saying you're the samurai.
Which I love the scene when they're facing the main bad guy and he's got Jennifer captured, and then he just like he's like put your guns down. He's not gonna shoot us. Like and then they put their guns down and he's like, you guys are idiots. And then he's about to shoot them. I'm like, yeah, it's almost like he has a gun. And he's the bad guy. Joe, you're so stupid.
They were all stupid in this movie. They all made horrible, horrible decisions. I don't think one of them actually made a good choice. Like, I don't think there was one where I was like, yeah, hey, okay. Like, there's no second where you feel like you're rooting for somebody. I feel like this is all just like, you're an idiot. You keep making a bad choice.
How about the girl who, like, when Joe is doing his investigation at that, I don't even know what it is anymore. I think it was, like, looking at, like, photos or something. And the girl's at the desk, and they're like, where's the cop looking at the stuff? And she's like, I think he's upstairs. Then she's like, oh, they might be bad guys. Let me hit this very visible-ass silent alarm that's on the wall.
No, it was a doorbell. It was a doorbell.
Regardless,
that's fair. She was just like
they
this.
can clearly see you, and they all have guns.
That's also kind of weird that she like alerted them. She's like, "Oh, they need to know." That's another scene where he was wearing the hat. I remember that too.
Yes, he was wearing the hat.
Because I remember thinking, I was like, "Why does he have a hat on? What? It makes his hair look poofy at the bottom." That's because it was a wig. It was like. And so that actually makes sense. Because a couple times I was like, why is his hair so poofy? It was like long and pretty. Well, not pretty, but
that's
I feel like
he
felt
at
it
the
pretty.
End. Oh, sorry. You.
No, you're good. I was just rambling.
I mean, he might have. He might have felt fashionable. I feel fashionable. My wig on.
All I can stare is when they start bouncing, and I'm just like. It is hypnotic.
What the girls?
Like Jerome, like you don't notice somebody moves a lot until there's something that moves with them, and like you shift a lot, and so do I. I move a lot too, but like I'm watching the bouncing of the curls more than I'm like paying attention to your movements because I see them. It's a different kind of movement I'm now seeing on the camera. Like don't remember, like I move too, but my hair is flat, so. Well, it's flat right now, depending on the day. But what about the samurai?
The only other one that I was like, oh, just that samurai scene at the end when they're like, he's like, we have to use our samurai swords. And so they use their swords. And then they're miles away from each other. I'm like, I'm sorry, are y'all going to get closer? Yeah, we got to do the stunt sword stuff first to get closer. And they just keep doing that. I was like, if y'all don't just get together and start fighting, for God's sake,
I mean,
get together. Why are you so far away from each other?
Foam ones. I mean, was a dollar store around during that time? Because they could have just made foam ones or.
Oh yeah, it's 1991.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's right. It was 1991. I keep thinking it was like a 70s film. That's the year I was born. I feel old.
It feels like it. It feels like it would be a 70s.
It has the editing style of a 70s film.
Did you guys catch the stuntman from the burn stunt?
Well, I figured that was a stunt man that they just.
No,
but there's a shot when there's a different person.
No, it's supposed to be the Hispanic guy that, was in the car when they were driving. But then, they put the stuntman in his clothes, to do the burn stunt. But then there's the scene where they put him out with the fire extinguisher and everything, the blanket. And then the stuntman, it's still the stuntman. It's not the Hispanic guy. So he looks up at the camera. And it's like, so every scene they kept being like, yeah, he burned his lips off. I'm like, are you sure? Because last time I checked, he was a white man 5 seconds ago. And he was pretty okay.
Which I was mad at the guy on fire.
His head and everything.
I was so mad at the guy on fire because haven't you ever heard of stop, drop, and roll? He was standing up, flailing his arms for a solid 15, 20 seconds.
How did he catch on fire again? I really don't recall.
Because the van exploded.
Oh,
why?
Right.
I don't know. I guess that, they're like, well, yeah, how else do you drive a van? What, you don't put the fuel on the outside
Most cars
of the car?
Most of the cars in movies always explode, and it's like, that's not how that works. If cars were really that, sensitive to explosion, we shouldn't be driving them whatsoever. You get into a fender bender, and it's like, well, the car exploded. That's what happened. Okay, that's right. The van. Well, it didn't really explode. I think that's what I don't really call it, because they still have to give the deposit back.
What, for the rented car that exploded?
Yes, they were trying to figure out a way to still get the deposit.
Yeah, because clear that the van isn't what exploded. They did an explosion away from the van. That's why they filmed it at a certain angle. Talk about bad angles. When the dude has Jennifer at gunpoint and he's like, put your guns down. I'm like, why? Because there's a big ass statue blocking the subject of the shot. We can't even see that you have this girl at gunpoint. And then Frank's dumb self, he's about to come around the corner because all he can see is whatever. Then Frank calls out, hey, don't move. No, Frank, just be quiet. You could have shot him. The second he came around the corner, he didn't see you because you were on the steps. What is wrong? You are the worst cops in LA ever. The worst.
Chad, I hated it. I hated you for a second, Jerome, when I was watching it. I was like, this man was like, we're going to watch it. And I'm like, all right, can't be that bad. There's bad films. I love watching really terrible horror films that have the weirdest names, like Bride of the Scarecrow. I watched that. That was awful.
I thought you just made that title up for a second, but it sounded like
Amazon Prime.
It was real.
It is on Amazon Prime.
All the B movies are on Amazon Prime. I'm surprised this one isn't. I
love the B-rated films on Amazon Prime. They, especially the horror films on there. It is just a buffet of terrible movies, but nothing compares to this terrible movie. And I found myself hating you for just a second, being like, I'm watching this because of him. It is solely because of him, and I blame you.
Here's the thing. You think this is bad. Y'all don't know bad until you've seen a Neil Breen film. Oh, Neil Breen.
Is he Bird Pandemic movie?
No, Birdemic is bad, but not as bad as a Neil Breen film. I don't know what it is about Neil Breen. He just be making movies that, at least this movie's plot, even though it's told terribly, it makes sense. It's like it starts, they're looking for this guy. At the end, they get the bad guy. That's it. Neil Breen makes movies that it's like the way it starts and what the setup is, damn sure ain't how it ends. It has nothing to do with how it ends. You will just be trying to guess the entire movie the whole way through watching, because it keeps changing into different films the entire time.
Is he trying to be like M. Night Shyamalan, where he's like, there's a twist? Or is it just
somewhat. But it gets bad. We'll talk about it off camera because I'm not gonna put you through that to actually watch it for a full review. That is like being mean. This was like, just a prank, if anything. Like watching a Neil Breen movie is torture.
Well, this was
Like if you're not into bad movies, so bad
horrible.
they're good movies.
This was a horrible prank. It was terrible. It's like the guy's face is also weird. I know this is just insulting the actor, and I apologize for that. But like the man's face is weird, and there was also so many close-up shots of him making the weirdest ass expressions, like for no reason. It's like, were you trying to look tough? Were you trying to show up? Like, why is that your face right now?
Funny enough, he was once Sylvester Stallone's bodyguard. That was his job before this.
He should have stayed that. He should have stayed that. All due respect.
It looks like he's only done 4 movies ever in his career.
I'm not surprised.
One
actually I am. That
got released last year apparently.
Was it Samurai Cop like 3 or something?
No, it's called Pact of Vengeance.
Yeah, and he looks so old now. I don't know why.
It has been 30
Dang, y'all
years.
just slamming.
He's got like, oh, he looks terrible.
Anyway,
it
Jonathan,
looks like his head was like they created the body and then they were like, oh shit, we forgot to create a head, and they're like, go get the spare parts. Just find something and put it on.
Damn.
That's what it looks like. That is that man's head.
Just roasted the shit out of his face.
my goodness.
No, I'm not that sorry. That's what it looks like to me. That's another, and then they did so many close-ups of his face, and I was like, it was almost as bad as staring at his actual ass. I know he didn't do anything to deserve this, but it is what it is. I know we're supposed to be talking about the movie, but he's a big part of it.
Jonathan, I mostly picked this movie though. It wasn't a prank on you, Alex. It was mostly a prank on Jonathan, because Jonathan, you are the most positive person on this podcast easily. And so I wanted to see if there was a movie that could break your positive spirit and and finally make you give a movie an F legitimately. Not an F plus. Not a, well, it's an F for some people.
Was that Sharknado? Did I give Sharknado that?
I think you did. Like, I was like, there's got to be a movie that even Jonathan would be like, nah.
Yeah, I don't even think this deserves a rating. because this was just, I was flabbergasted. I was surprised at multiple points. When it started, I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be a 90s movie. Typically things in the 90s, they weren't as technologically advanced as they are today. Mm-hmm. So I was just expecting that, and maybe like bad plot and bad, but this was bad all around. It was just bad everywhere. I can't get over like just the cuts, the music. There was one point where it sounded like it switched tracks at one point, like in the middle of the scene.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That happened. I was like, what the hell? Like, all right, time to put in side B of the tape. Right. Set. Let me make sure I get that in there.
Like, we have to move quickly. Well, not that quickly. We still have to like switch it over.
Exactly. So yeah, there were just so many things.
You know what though? The poster is very honest, because both of the 2 nude scenes are represented on the poster. You get like on the poster, you see Peggy with her top off, but they have like little stars where her nipples are, so they. And then the other girl naked got little stars on her nipples too, just so that way they could cover their bases. Let you know there's gonna be nudity. Don't worry, there's gonna be some naked women in this movie.
Because that's the only thing. That was the only thing they could properly promise for this film. Because again, it's called Samurai Cop, but he does no actual fighting. Anytime he's about ready to fight somebody physically, they get shot. And
He
then
just
he
pulls out
finally
a
gets his
gun.
No, that's not
hands
true.
on a
He
samurai
fights the Asian guy. That's like a fist fight. And then he fights the guy at the end with fists. So there are 2 fights in the movie. And he fights like somebody else too. He fights a couple guys when they try to jump him that one time. So there's some fights in there. They're just not good.
No, the jumping
This
one.
and this.
He like threw.
He's at the
he, like,
restaurant. Remember, he's
he,
at the
like-
restaurant. He's trying
yeah.
to leave, and the 4 guys come and they try to jump him.
Yeah, and then you see him go like this, clearly missing the guy's face, and the guy goes, "Ah!" I think he literally
And
goes like this.
also, kind of to wrap up my thoughts on it, this movie was too long. It felt too long, rather. It was an hour and 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. But
it feels like 2 hours.
It felt like I was watching for the length that I watched Avatar 2. And that's the only comparison it'll get to Avatar 2. Because this
It was
felt like
it was like only a little over an hour. Really?
it was like an hour and 30 minutes.
Tubi made it longer because they had commercials in between.
Yes, we would go from a love scene to a T-Mobile commercial, and I was so thrown off because it felt like I was watching like regular TV, and I'm like, oh dang, they cussing,
like I was
they
watching TBS.
showing nudity.
That actually one of the commercials startled me. I forgot what it was because it was like a part of the movie where the audio is really bad and really low. I was like, all right, I don't know if I don't remember what scene, but the audio was kind of low, and then all of a sudden you get this really loud commercial. It's like, hey, do you know what you're having for dinner tonight? I'm like, Jesus.
You guys watched it on Tubi? I watched it on Pluto.
I watched it on Tubi.
Pluto have commercials?
Mm-hmm.
I've only
Yeah,
watched
Pluto has commercials too.
like a couple movies on Pluto, like really old ones, like Some Like It Hot is on Pluto. So I've only watched like really older films, and I don't recall that.
Just the scene alone, like it's just like, this is a respectable place where businessmen can conduct business and stuff, like you know. And I'm telling these sons of bitches, I'm just like, dude, stop. And you can see him darting over, looking at the cue cards, like, oh, you're not gonna say cut, huh? All right, I'm just gonna keep going then.
We're businessmen.
You're not gonna say cut
at a business place. With the restaurant scene,
like
the funny thing about the restaurant scene, because that just reminded me of it, because they were having that type of dialogue, and you're right, you can see kind of the shifty eyes for some of them. Was that you can clearly tell it's like 9 in the morning, and they're like at a Chili's or something. Like the restaurant owner's like a friend and being like, you can use a booth, because all of them also sitting on like one side. You can use this one corner. You have to be out in an hour because we have to open up the restaurant, but you can use it. Just stay in this. And all of them were sitting on one side. So because I'm guessing they didn't have multiple camera angles. So like all of them are squished together on one side of the booth. And it's like, this would be really weird if this was like a real gang. Y'all are sitting super close together. Then again, they did just, call that one guy, his gift. So like maybe something else was going on.
Yeah, who knows? Nobody knows about what's going on with the Katana gang. Which that was another scene where he's like, what does a katana mean? It means Japanese sword. I'm like, God damn it.
That's his expert Japanese coming into
Yeah,
play.
that's him using his Japanese skills because he speaks fluent Japanese.
Didn't they also mention another sword? Yeah.
No.
They mentioned something else where he's like, oh, it means this. And I was like, is this I feel like this is all the Japanese know.
Do you want to give your thoughts on your rating if you have one, Alex?
Well, my thoughts, I think I've made those perfectly clear. I do not have a rating for this movie. I could not bring myself to rate this movie. I don't know what I watched. It made me hate Jerome a little bit. And like it was all around just bad. And I was just like, oh God. It was one of those movies you get secondhand embarrassment from. Especially during those fight scenes. Because they like never even got close to each other. Yeah, because they're all...
It's like watching kids play in the yard. Like, I got you. It's like...
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. It's like all the background actors where they tell tell them, like in Star Trek when they're like, hey, do something in just the background, and you literally see a guy against the wall doing this for there's
Or
like nothing in
those
front of
videos
him.
where those videos where you see people close up on some of the extras, or even sometimes the main cast in a
Yeah, remember
TV
that
show or
time
Oh,
in the
movie, and they're
like
and they're
Tyler
like
and
Perry
they're
movie, they're
putting
not
and they're
eating
putting like food
anything.
in their mouth, and they're not eating anything.
Yeah.
or like there's a whole thing about Orlando Bloom in Lord of the Rings where like other characters are talking and he's just making these weird faces, like really pencil, like that's what it felt like. This movie was nothing but the background characters and the characters that should not have been on screen, but they were the main focal point. Um, just I'm not giving this one a grade. It doesn't deserve a grade, and that's what I say.
Oh no,
What
this
about you
movie gets an
guys?
A+ for how much of an
Shut
F it is.
up,
It's
Jerome.
You
terrible.
said A
Like it's
plus.
terrible, but it's great. It's great because it's terrible. It's an oxymoron existing in this world, and I love it. I don't know if I'd ever watch it like on my free time very often, but I did have fun watching it. As of someone who studied filmmaking and hopes to never make a movie this bad,
I have
I
faith
have
that
to
you
be.
will not ever make a movie this bad.
I love seeing movies like this because it's like, well, on one hand, we can make fun of it and stuff like that. I do respect the creative spirit of people to just be like, it's why I even if I don't like the sequels to Sharknado, I still respect Sharknado, the first movie, because that movie is in the same boat along with other stuff like Birdemic, like The Room, whatever, where it's like I respect the creative spirit of somebody who's like, I want to make a film, and they just do it. Maybe it doesn't come out as good as they pictured it in their head when they
But
made that
like,
that
okay, I
dictation,
I get
but
what
at
you're
least
saying with
it
like,
got made. You know what I
I
mean?
get what you're saying, and like, I can say I can respect that you want this part, but also this was clearly not planned out well. You didn't think about where you were doing this scene ahead of time. You didn't
Yeah,
scout locations. You
there's
didn't like, yeah.
yeah, I can see that there's a difference between a movie that people think is bad because maybe they don't like the plot, they don't like the casting, they don't like what the specific choices that the director made. And then there's bad because you're just being negligent and trying to cut
Yes,
corners
exactly. Where it's
production
like
wise.
Listen,
you went
that's what
into that
all so
Chili's
bad.
hour before it opened to film that one scene and didn't think like you have to be out, and it's like, all right, we're gonna do this real. He's confronting the gang in this big restaurant scene, but let's have everybody against the wall. We have to be out in an hour, so really quick, everybody kind of talk really fast and let's go, and then have
That's what
this
all the
weird
so bad they're
scene with
good
the
movies
host.
are, though. Fateful Findings, Birdemic, even The Room to a degree. At least The Room has some type of budget, but the rest of it, it's like all of them are made this way. They're all a bunch of movies of people who clearly don't know how to make a movie, but they're like, dang it, I'll make it anyway.
You have mentioned Birdemic
And they
so
still just
much.
try and do it.
I'm probably gonna
What?
watch it. I said you have mentioned Birdemic so much that I'm probably
Birdemic's
gonna
awful.
watch it and I'm gonna hate you again.
That's on you. You don't have to watch Birdemic.
You keep repeating it, it's in my head. The hate will be there. Jonathan, what about you? Or wait, you gave it an A. I was like,
I pretty much gave my full thoughts.
You didn't
I
give it a
made
rating.
sure. Yeah, I didn't give it a rating either. I made sure that I was being productive with my time while I watched this. So I watched this while I was washing dishes, while I was brushing my teeth, while I was doing that kind of stuff, because I did not want my hour and 30 minutes to
Wasted.
be in vain.
I
Yes.
I was working on like I'm currently trying to write a book, and I finally was like, all right, I'm gonna sit down at the computer and like watch it. Hopefully I don't get too distracted from what my pro ticket, my work, and I'm like, no, I didn't get distracted at all, other than when I heard the people scream ah in these like where you're supposedly getting punched out and you scream one single scream. Okay, that's normal. I don't know.
So that's
Oh
our
no,
review of
Samurai
Samurai
Cop.
Cop.
But
Yeah,
I had fun, all in all. I had fun.
I have
I
fun
guess that's
watching
all that
this movie.
matters.
Yeah, I have fun watching these movies. I live for them. Love me some Birdemic. Love me some The Room. Neil Breen is the best. His movies are a whole other level of bad. So those, like, I live for these type of so bad they're good movies.
I get it because I do it with
'Cause,
horror films. So like, I'm that way with horror films where they're just like god awful, and they're like, I was like, who did this? Who thought this was a great idea? And I love those horror films like that. But I guess when it comes to like other films, like action films, I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm like, this is a waste of my time. I've lost
but
minutes.
yeah, that's true. You've lost a whole hour and a half of your life. Actually, a little bit longer because with the commercials, it's probably at least been like an hour 50.
Uh-huh.
Stupid Tide commercials.
It was
So tell
T-Mobile
us,
for me. Anyway,
right?
sorry.
Tell us what you thought, audience. Have you seen Samurai Cop? Did you like it? Did you hate it? If you haven't seen it, now that you've heard our descriptions, are you intrigued? Because there's no video. We didn't provide any pictures or visuals, so you still don't really know what we're talking about. So you're going to go hunt it down and see if it's as bad as we say. Comment below. Tell us.
Don't
Or
do it.
email us at for the first ones to die at gmail.com. Tell us your thoughts on Samurai Cop.
Yes.
Socials.
Jerome, where can they find you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rich on Instagram, as well as at RoboZoom Media and at Jerome_the_show to see other stuff I am working on. And also, if you want to get fantastic extra content that you can't get on the audio streams for the First Ones to Die podcast here, come check out the First Ones to Die YouTube channel. We have all types of extra content up there, like gaming videos, mini reviews, vlogs, book reviews, and filmed versions of all of our podcast episodes. So you can catch up there and see all of our gorgeous faces and the curls. And
You know what I was
also
just
be on the
thinking?
lookout for if we
Okay. Sorry.
What's that?
Finish?
I
No.
was gonna say just be on the lookout for when we stream on Twitch, but we're not doing it anytime soon, so whatever. But be on the lookout for social media for next time we do that.
I was gonna say,
Alex.
due to my internet connection or whatever's going on with my computer, the quality of this film will have the same quality as Samurai Cop. It's very glitchy. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do my best, but the words are not always gonna fit the person. So I mean, it's actually fitting. What's going on right? Fitting. It's fitting. And I don't know if I want to get my social media and be tied to this film in any way, but I suppose if you're looking to defend Samurai Cop, you're welcome to try me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok. Or you can come try to defend it or let me know why it's as bad as I think it is on the podcast TikTok, the First Ones to Die, where I post little clips as well as things we may be doing in the future as kind of an update and just random videos of me being bored. But what about you, Jonathan? Where are we finding you?
Someone commented on your TikTok and said they love this movie.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. I don't want to think about this movie ever again. I genuinely don't. What about you, Jonathan? Social.
You can follow me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. Yeah, it is fitting that we had these issues during Samurai Cop, our Samurai Cop episode. It's very
True.
We'll see y'all next week for our 100th episode.
Woo!
Very momentous occasion. We are very excited.
100th episode.
And we hope you will join.
Still only 20 subscribers on YouTube.
It's gonna be fun.
You know what that tells me? Y'all need to subscribe. So if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel and also follow us on all the social medias, like we said already, at the First Ones to Die. So do that.
Exactly. All right, we'll see y'all in the next one. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.